My next speaker is Dr. Nida Wahid Bashir. She's a consultant breast surgeon and is also a part of our faculty. She did her PhD with us in 2011, and it seems, Dr. Amjad, the must response and the 200 emails has not stopped her from enrolling into the master's program. So we will welcome her on Monday, hopefully. Dr. Nida, even though she's a general surgeon by training, but her true self is more of an activist. Her interest has always been towards organizational ethics and the offshoots related with it. She's been very committed to ethics as a field, as a subject, and you actually see that in the writings that she has helped in getting together with teams on the farmer-physician interaction, developing a booklet on medical error, and even writing a chapter in one of our local books over here in Pakistan, Bioethics in Pakistan. So her commitment has been there, and she is going to talk about 1,000 miles, and let's see which 1,000 miles she's going to share with us today. So Dr. Nida, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bashir. Dr. Amjad, you were talking about culture not being there, so I'm all dressed up because it's part of the culture to be dressed up on a birthday, right? So I'm celebrating. And Dr. Muazzam ne Urdu mein kaha insani akhlaq. So what I'm going to talk about is my journey through the ethics in general. The basis of an insani akhlaq, the way I gathered it from the very beginning, and the way I have evolved into somebody who is sitting in CBEC doing something which I'm not really sure about. So we will be discovering that. Yeah. So the title may be, this title, Dr. Muazzam said, talk about what it is and what you're beginning, and don't talk about CBEC and बहुत तारीफ नहीं करना. I said, Dr. Muazzam, I'm not the one who can actually do a good tareef anyways. So the prelude is my beginning. And the foundation is this very center. I think my beginning has been gaining strength from the center. And the way it is I have done that, I'm going to talk about a little bit. This is just a general structure of my presentation. You would see many different words of English written there, which I will be opening up as I go to those slides. And I have really, Dr. Muazzam, I've spent quite a bit of time on finding the right vocabulary for the right slide. So this is me. This is my soil. On the right, on your right, you could see my father, who was a poet, a political activist, a journalist. And on the left, you see my mother holding the collar of a policeman. This was basically a demonstration of teachers where she was protesting against capturing a few of her colleagues. And they had their rights and they had their demands, and they were protesting on the road for that. These are the two parents that I was raised by. So the seed of ethics, it comes from here. And these were the people this is the soil where it was nurtured. I became a doctor. And my first encounter with true clinical ethics was in my residency, where I started questioning the way we are looking at our patients and the way patients relate to us. These are two sentences which were delivered by two different patients of mine. One was a patient of carcinoma of esophagus, and she had a complication post-surgery. She required reoperation. We found something wrong with her heart. Because she had to be on ventilator for long, we wanted to do a tracheostomy. Somehow or the other, the Sindhi-speaking woman from a village could relate to me better than anyone else. So an ethics consult was raised. And I was asked to explore what exactly is she saying. She's saying no hole in my neck. We wandered around the way she's thinking about it. We had a discussion with the family. And I was the one who communicated to everybody, no, I don't think we are going to make a difference, and she doesn't want it. The second patient of mine was a carcinoma of ovary. One of our great surgeons operated on her, and we know that we could not save her. And she requested me to be there on her bedside when she's breathing her last. And I was there. I wondered why I was there. So there was a connection that I could feel when I was doing my residency. And I graduated. And then came the year 2004, where I became a consultant surgeon in one of the hospitals. I'm happy that people from that hospital, Patel Hospital, are sitting here. So in 2004, CBEC happened. But something else happened also. One thing was Karachi Bioethics Group. That is a unique phenomena on its own, which is a group of people interested, professionals interested in bioethics who sit together and talk about it. The other phenomena which happened was the formation. I was asked to make a hospital ethics committee in Patel Hospital, which I had no clue about. I was a fresh general surgeon who wanted to operate. Why a hospital ethics committee, and why would I make it? So I called up on, you know who, the only one who could help me through, Dr. Amir Jafri. I said, sir, I don't know what they're talking about. Can you come in and help me? So he came in, he taught us, and we developed the hospital ethics committee there. And if Dr. Mohammed, you may not remember, but since then I've been part of every event that CBEC has conducted. So I'm part of CBEC since then. Then I got married. And before that, I was not really thinking about getting a degree in bioethics or something. But when I had my son, the little boy came in. He was really a joy for me, but with that, I also started looking at myself, and I realized that I'm not thinking the way I used to think before him. Something is happening here. My reason is going away. I'm not processing information. I need to preserve my ability to think. And when he was 2.5 years, I approached CBEC. Dr. Amjad, you were not the only one who was refused to be an MBE. Yeah. So I sat for the interview with my son in my lap, sending empty messages to Dr. Amir Jafri while I was being interviewed, and I was taken in. And I think CBEC is the only place where that can happen. And then the period of my liminal existence started. When you are not alive and you're still alive, right, Dr. Amjad and Natasha and everybody else in this room, right? Dr. Amir, I wish so he's left the room again. He cannot ever forget my first presentation. Dr. Lombardo was the only one who said, this was a good presentation. But rest, Dr. Amir went for a Jummah namaz because he could not tolerate that presentation. Yeah. But with that, you could see 2 handwritten notes on this screen. This is the level of engagement that faculty had with all of us, and it still does. Dr. Moazzam could not bear the way I was referencing my articles, and he said, you need to standardize references. Should have been a habit by now. Then it was my project that Bashir talked about, organizational ethics. And it took us, all of us, including Dr. Amir, me, and I think rest of the faculty, to convince Dr. Moazzam that this is something that we can do something about. And she said, what do you wish to achieve here? Your end results? And there's a big question mark in front of it. And so, yeah. And I emerged out of it. I emerged with the certificate, but at the same time, at the end of that PGD, I conceived my daughter. And I was so scared to let people know that I have become pregnant. I will not be able to probably do my project as good as I could. But well, so she came out. But with that, a lot of other things happened. I learned how to respond. I am still learning how to do unbiased listening because my activism always kicks in. It is there, it is in my blood. And I definitely found a place for intellectual growth. I think as a clinician, I keep searching for sources from where my intellect can get its food. I think I always come back. I used to be coming here very often to get that, whether I was faculty or not. And I think we need more such places where clinicians can get that. So from Patel came out the Hospital Ethics Committee, and from my project of organizational ethics came out Medical Error Analysis Committee. Because organizational ethics was a domain I got interested when I was looking at different things which were coming to the Hospital Ethics Committee, raising questions about the organization and its ethics. And from here, the medical error became the prime center of our attention. Two of my colleague, Dr. Abir, who is sitting here, without whom I don't think we would have achieved what we have achieved at Patel in terms of Medical Error Analysis Committee. And so activism with ethical sensibility kicked in. We started an anonymized reporting system, and I think this was the first one in Pakistan where we talked about how anonymized reporting, and where it is not the incident report, it was not the adverse event reporting, it was not talking about bad, it was any and each and every error could be reported on a form which was available everywhere in the hospital. Whenever a person thinks that's an error, they can write it down and put it in that box. And we involved stakeholders in responding to it. With that, we realized that we can teach it also. So we developed a workshop. And that workshop we have conducted, so Dr. Bushra became my partner in crime. And me and Bushra have done many workshops internationally and nationally. We have developed the guidebook from KBG platform. Somehow or the other, I became the faculty for organizational ethics and medical error. So I'm involved in teaching with teaching nursing students of masters at AKU. I was recently called in for master's program, MBE program at AKU for teaching medical error. And I've also achieved the status of associate faculty at first in 2015 and part-time faculty in 2023. Every time we conducted error workshops, we came up with a whiteboard filled of events which were reported by people sitting there. And every time we realized the kind of understanding that is needed about error at every level. So the learning from this journey of mine are a few. One is that intellectual indulgence, whether it's literature, art, dialogue, or ethics, it enhances the humane aspect of clinical care, and every clinician needs it. There has to be more venues for it. Clinicians with bioethics interest are much needed if you want to really resolve issues of healthcare that we are looking at, because administrators do not have that insight. And the clinicians with bioethics interests have to become a norm and not a rarity. And health professionals do need a platform for self-reflection at various levels, as a group. And now comes the last part, which is the new beginning. And I think this verse by Ghalib represents my status. Allah re zauq dasht nawardi ke baad marg. So I'm dead already. Hilte hain khud ba khud mere andar kafan ke paun. And Dr. Lombardo, for you, the translation is there. Oh Allah, what's an ecstasy for roaming in the wilderness, that even after death, inside the coffin, my feet are still moving on their own. So in conclusion, in this bioethics journey of 1,000 miles, I keep drawing strength from the foundation. But there's a persistent reminder that this is just the prelude. And there are many more miles to go. And my request to all my guides are, रहबरे कामिल चलने को तैयार तो हूँ, पर याद रहे, उस वक्त मुझे भटका देना जब सामने मंजिल आ जाए. Thank you.